Hi, thanks for joining me this week for Purposeful Inspiration. Our topic is Know the Voice of God. So, if this is your first time watching Purposeful Inspiration, I want to say welcome. And if you have watched one or two videos before, thanks for joining me again. So if you have watched my videos before, you would know that I have been in the book of Joshua for some time, and that's because I am currently studying that book, and it's really interesting. I'm finding so many things out of that one book, and I'm not even done yet. So as I get them, I share them, and I pray that you are inspired, and not just inspired, but purposefully inspired to go and do, to go and change, to rise up, whatever the inspiration is for that week. For the week, I pray that you are so inspired by it. So, our topic, as I said before, is Know the Voice of God. And it's based on Joshua 8. So, Joshua is Joshua was a servant of Moses, and we know that Moses was the first leader of the children of Israel. He brought them out of Egypt, and he had the whole Red Sea experience and the smiting the rock to get water. So Joshua was a minister to Moses, so he knew that Moses was close to God. And in Joshua 1, God started to speak to Joshua because Moses had died. So now Joshua was taking over the reins. He was now the leader of the children of Israel because the past leader Moses was now dead. So God spoke to Joshua and said, Joshua, do not be afraid, be of good courage, be strong, because I have given you this land. Canaan is yours. Go in and possess it. Be obedient to my commandments. So basically, Joshua was following the will of God. So the story when in Joshua 8 is about the battle of the children of Israel against the people of Ai, a city called Ai, and they had went in, you can find it in Joshua 7, that they went to fight that same people and lost. But they lost that battle because there was sin in the camp. Achan stole something from God, and he did something that he wasn't supposed to do. He stole some what you call it, he saw some garments that God said they are not to be taken, they are corrupt, and he stole some gold and silver from God that was supposed to go in the temple of God. So for that they lost the first battle against the people of Ai, and then God cleansed them, pointed out the error, and that person and his family died. So it now comes back to that, going against the people of Ai again. So God said to them, this is always God talking in us. So we see that Joshua had that relationship, that back and forth conversation with God, talking to him, God talking to him responding and telling the people what to do based on what God told him. So we see that Joshua had that close relationship. And when I speak about knowing God, it's in a sense, we have, when you know people, it's in two different senses. We can know the presidents or the prime ministers of our countries, but we don't know them. So we know of them, we know who they are, we know their name, we know their position, but we do not know their personalities. We don't know their likes and dislikes. We don't know how they behave in certain situations. And it's the same with God. Sometimes we go to church, and even those who don't go to church, they know of God. They know that God is the God of Israel. He's the one who parted the Red Sea. They know about the miracles that Jesus worked. They know of God, but they don't know God. They don't know his voice when he speaks. Sometimes I hear people say, well, my mind tell me say, or it's somebody, something told me to do something, or some instinct, and not recognizing that it is the voice of God speaking, because they don't know the voice of God. And that is the level I want us to get to, where we know God like we know our families, our spouses, our friends. So we see that Joshua had that type of relationship with God. He knew his voice. And then God said to them, you know what, go again and fight against the people of Ai. This time I will give you the victory. You have conquered them. Set up an ambush, surround them. And when Joshua went to the people, he said, okay, some will go at the side, some will go at this side. We're going to hide near, and then the rest of us will approach the city from the north side, that's the front, and we're going to act like we're running away. And when we're running away, they will chase us, because they chased them away before. So of course they would think that it's the same thing we're playing. So they said that's how we're going to approach things. So when they were doing it and they were running away from the people, Joshua 8 verses 15 to 18 captures the part of the story that I want us to get, and I'll post it in the descriptions. It said that Joshua and the Israelites fled. They ran away to start the ambush. And the people of Ai ran after them. Everybody, not a man was left in the city, because every man ran after the Israelites, because they thought that they were going to have the victory again. And I can just imagine, we don't see it nowadays because we don't have that type of war going on, but we watch shows. So just imagine, put yourself in this situation. You see men running away, they're probably shouting, breeze blowing past the ears, the thousands of men, it's not like 10 men or 100 men, thousands of Israelites were there. So thousands of feet pounding on the ground, sounding like stampede. And then a next set of thousands were coming after them, and I can just imagine them hearing that, them sounding the battle cry and saying, run away and on, making that battle cry. And I can just imagine the noise that was going on at the time. Feet, people running, massive stampede, battle cry sounding, shouting. And in the midst of all that shouting, verse 18 says that the Lord spoke to Joshua. The Lord spoke to Joshua in the midst of all the noise and said, Joshua, lift up your spear that is in your hand, because I have given you the victory over this land. And Joshua lifted up his spear in response to what God was saying. That means that in the middle of the noise, in the middle of the confusion, in the middle of the people of Ai shouting battle cries, Joshua could hear the voice of God. And that's because he knew the voice of God. And it's so in our situation sometimes, when internal situations or emotional situations where we're so distressed, we're so cast down, we're so overcome, and our hearts are in turmoil, our minds are going back and forth, and we don't know what to do. And even people, when they're calling and trying to get our attention, they have to call our names 3 times before we even acknowledge that we're here. I'm so, oh sorry, I was thinking about something. We can't even hear people to how much our hearts are in turmoil. Imagine when we have music playing, or we're watching a favorite movie, and the volume is loud. We can hardly hear our parents or our siblings talking to us from a close distance. They have to be shouting. So we know the type of noise level. Imagine when you're going taxis, public transportation, when you're on the road, and when, especially in Jamaica, where they have street dance, and when you're passing that box, the system set up, the sound system, you can hardly hear your own thoughts. And so it is that in the midst of the noise, we need to be able to identify the voice of God. In the midst of the voice, we need, in the midst of the noise, rather, we need to know the voice of God so that when He speaks to us in the noisy situations, we will respond. And I was looking at the scripture, and God said, Joshua, lift up your spear, and Joshua lifted up his spear. And I was saying to myself, if Joshua didn't know the voice of God, he wouldn't have lifted up his spear, and then that moment of victory, that right moment, because at times in life there is just a right time to do things. The Bible speaks of when the fullness of time was come, there is a window of opportunity to do some things, and if it's not done at that time, we may jeopardize our victory. And I was thinking that if Joshua didn't know the voice of God, then he would have missed that window of opportunity to lift up the spear so that the men who were waiting in ambush could get up at the right time and take the city by storm and burn it down and then attack the people of Ai. If Joshua didn't know the voice of God, he would have probably lost that battle. And so it is with us. Sometimes God is talking to us and we don't know, we don't know his voice, so we miss the opportunity. When he says turn left, we turn right. We miss that window of opportunity where we were to meet somebody, where we were to see something happen, to show us something that we're going through. We miss it. And a good a good example is, for me, yesterday I was feeling so, I don't even know, I was feeling so out of sorts. I Rarely, where I work, it's in the downtown area, and it's near to the waterfront. So I was just feeling so out of sorts, and I walked down to the waterfront to talk to God because I love water. And I said, I'm going to walk down and I'm going to talk to God. And I was talking to Him. I was pouring out my heart. I was there and I was telling Him exactly how I felt and how I can't bother with the way things are going. And if that's how they're going to go, Him just can't bother with certain things. And while I was there, I went to this balcony, the edge, and I looked over in the water and I was looking at some fishes and everything. And then this Rasta man came up, and I went to a seat. I took a seat there, and the man come take a seat side of me. I was like, okay, can't this man see that I want to be alone? And I was saying, sir, I came here to speak to God. I didn't come here for a conversation. And the man was so stubborn. He sat there, and he kept talking about his family in country and how country land is good for planting, the soil is fertile, and how the family migrated, and how the economy and the system. And then we start talking about God, and I'm to myself, I'm there entertaining him slightly, and my face is straight like. And I said, the man, I can't see my face. And I was there, and I said, God, I want to speak to you. I want to speak to you. I want to speak to you. And on my way coming back up to work, because the man still wouldn't leave until it was time for me to go to work, I was telling God that, God, yes, sister, I went there to speak to you. I do not appreciate you sending that Rasta man to speak to me. I want to be alone, and if I want to be alone, God, leave me alone to speak to you. I don't like it. I want to pour out my heart to you. I'm not come there to talk to people, and don't do it again. As I talk to God, don't do it again. My bright down. But that's my relationship with God. So I was saying, I want to focus on me. And at the time I was telling God, and I wasn't stopping to listen to say, God, what is it that you want to say? But fortunately for me and for you, God is a merciful God. He's a gracious God. So later that evening, He restated the point that I missed earlier. That He just wanted me to have peace. He wanted me to take my mind off the situation and to just rest in His peace, to just rest from the situation, take a break, forget about it, and trust Him to fix. what needs to be fixed. And this is why we need to know the voice of God, because if God didn't repeat what he said in the morning, in the evening, if he didn't repeat it in the evening, I would have missed it completely. I would still be worrying about the situation. I would still be crying. I would still be depressed. Well, not really depressed, but a level of depression. I would still be out of sorts. But the voice of God spoke to me and I listened. So we need to know the voice of God, and I implore you, how do we know the voice of God? Read the word, worship him, pray to him, watch, just examine every situation to see how God can be speaking to you through it. When you go to church, whatever service it is, and you hear somebody speaking, don't take it as, oh, somebody just speaking or the pastor is just preaching again. Take it as God is speaking to me and I have something to receive today. That's how you know the voice of God. Read the word, listen to his people when they speak, pray and worship him, and you will know the voice of God. Have a good day.